Hi, I'm Cassie Wilson, and you're watching Transit Talks, and today I'm here with...
My name is Jordan Del Valle Tonoian. I work at a transportation management association in Washington County. I am largely transit dependent. I get around using TriMet, bike, ride connection, and all of my work happens here in Washington County.
When's the last time you rode transit before today?
Yesterday, and the day before that, and the day before that. I don't think... If I'm not on transit for a day, it's probably because I was inside or I didn't really go anywhere.
Working in transportation, I hear a lot about TV Highway. It's one of the, state orphan highways that, is not being treated as the main street that it is in many of the communities it runs through, and just is behind the times in terms of meeting the needs of people today. But for those not familiar, and I really haven't spent a lot of time actually out here on the west side, tell us a bit about the corridor, communities it runs through, give everyone a sense of what's going on out here.
Yeah, TV Highway, Tualatin-Valley Highway is one of the handful of east-west connections, road connections that exist in Washington County. It connects Beaverton all the way out to Forest Grove.
What is the infrastructure like along this corridor?
The infrastructure on TV Highway is very car-centric. Basically, the entirety of this section between Beaverton and Hillsborough is 5 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction, and then a center turn median. Sidewalks come and go for most of the route, especially through Aloha.
I had no idea that Aloha was unincorporated.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about the demographics of the community and how big of a community it is?
Aloha is a very large community. It's one of the most diverse communities in the metro area. In fact, Washington County as a whole is the most diverse county in the entirety of the state of Oregon. And a lot of those communities really convene here in Aloha. They have some very high disparity census tracts and very large populations of Hispanic and Asian communities. And then as you move further west, Forest Grove and Cornelius also have very large presences, especially the Hispanic community.
The road is owned by ODOT, but it comes and goes through many jurisdictions. How does that affect progress?
I mean, it makes it really complicated, and that's the story for a lot of our roads out here in Washington County. Even though this road is primarily maintained and overseen by ODOT, the county, Washington County, has a big say in what goes on. And then every intersection, a road might have a different owner. So as these different intersections happen, you have different road owners, transportation infrastructure owners and maintainers that are responsible for the different pieces, the different complexities. And every intersection is a different owner. This bridge we're going over, we just passed Murray. This bridge has no sidewalks.
Oh.
All you get is maybe an 8-foot shoulder on either side that is littered with debris and rocks. I wouldn't even go so far as to call it a bike lane, as much as it is just a shoulder.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, and, I think that something that sometimes our elected leaders can fail to recognize, although not the ones whose district this runs through, is that, even where there is a lack of infrastructure, it doesn't mean people aren't still forced to use it.
Oh yeah.
What would Vision Zero look like on this corridor?
I would really love to see a sidewalk level bi-directional bike facility on the north side where all the amenities are so people don't have to cross. A wide sidewalk on that side next to that, a good buffer space between that and traffic, bus lanes in both directions to provide an additional 12-foot road buffer, and then just whatever room is left, maybe one car lane in each direction with turn pockets, and widely the elimination of the no man's land turn lane in the center that, with all the curb cuts, turns into basically a game of Frogger just as you walk down the sidewalk, because you're constantly looking for cars that are looking for a gap in some pretty fast traffic to just dive in and make a left to get to Spirit Halloween.
Can you tell me a bit about the TV Highway Transit project? Is it undergoing planning? Is planning done? Where are we at?
Yeah, we're in a planning stage. So it's going to be an FX-ified bus line running hopefully every 12 minutes with 60-foot zero emission, either electric or hydrogen buses. The project has been value engineered down quite a bit. All of the infrastructure and improvements are just at the bus stops.
Oh, no.
They're going to consolidate the bus stops. They're going to put in, wonderful platforms with covers and do some improvements around where the stops are, more RRFBs, a couple of extra signals, maybe some queue jumps that have some bat lanes. But once you leave the station, there are not any improvements planned on the TriMet side of things. There are some separate projects that are happening at the ODOT, at the county level, at the city level as we go along this corridor that have improved sidewalks and curb cuts and ADA accessibility, but there's still a lot of places where sometimes if you're in a mobility device, you need to get on the bus just to get a few blocks because the sidewalk, the curb cuts, the driveway cutouts are not accessible. I think to make this a successful corridor that has reliable, fast, high-capacity transit that's on par with what you get along the MAX corridor to the north of us, we need that stop consolidation. And so the improvements that need to come with that to the pedestrian infrastructure, at the very least on the north side of the street, are non-negotiable in my eyes. So on the south side here is the Portland and Western Railroad tracks. These tracks run, I think, all the way out into the coastal ranges. There's some logging companies up there that put their stuff on Portland Western. There's usually no sidewalks on that side of the street, especially here in this portion. Of course, I think that there should be a sidewalk on the other side of the street just because there should be sidewalks on both sides of preferably every street. But of course, it makes the most sense to have it at least on this side. A lot of commercial development along TV Highway, was built 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And if you want to get to the businesses at the other side of the parking lot, you just have to go out into one of the driveways and walk through the parking lot.
How is tree canopy along this corridor in general?
There's generally not any trees on this side of the road because of the railroad, so there's nothing planted here. And then there's some decently mature trees on the south side, but I definitely wouldn't want to walk along this on a 100-degree day. Not going to have a lot of opportunities for shade.
And this is exactly what you're saying. It's just enough sidewalk to board the bus, which I mean is better than many bus stops can be said about, around the state.
And a trash can.
I mean,
nice.
hey, trash can, huge. Obviously, the noise pollution.
Yeah. This is not a pleasant spot to wait for a bus.
No.
And this is a huge improvement from what it looked like 10 years ago.
I'm sure.
So.
But it's also the standards for what pedestrians and transit riders have to deal with on our state highways is so low compared to cars just barreling down. What opportunities do you see for long-term future of TV Highway?
Well, I think I see all of the opportunities that the community that lives here sees. The people that ride the bus that answered the public engagement survey, they want a safer street, they want likeable infrastructure, they want safe, comfortable, shaded, covered areas to wait for the bus, they want a reliable bus, they want a fast bus, they want a frequent bus. People want to be able to live, work, shop, play, worship here in the neighborhoods where they live, and they want to be able to do it safely and comfortably. And right now, that's just not the reality.
What's your transportation hot take?
I think that we should prioritize people walking, biking, transit infinitely more than personal vehicles. We have so many ways to get around, and there's so much space that's dedicated to cars as people's method of transportation that when we look at revising things or building new things, I think that it's okay that that's at the bottom of the priority list, because there's not places to walk or bike, and there's not dedicated transit.
Thank you so much for riding the bus with us today, and for all the work you're doing in Washington County.
We're trying our best, working with the infrastructure that we have and making mode shift a little by little where we can.